Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another episode of the Fresh Crits of Melbourne. You're here with your host, Steve Flack, and today, this is a circuit I've never been before. We're at Vic Uni circuit with the fantastic Footscray Cycling Club, which I have a lot of time for, so I do encourage you to go and check them out and do some races there. Highly professional outfit. Race on two really good circuits. This is the one down at Vic Uni. This is actually Christmas Eve this race was on. They race down here. They also race at Drake Avenue. So definitely encourage you to go and check them out. 6 circuits, great people, get involved. Nothing more to say there. So this one's an interesting circuit. It's really exposed. You can see there's no sort of trees or anywhere to block any sort of wind. And today it was, well, for this race, it was absolutely howling. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner with the map there, it was a screaming wind that came in as soon as you came around this corner. The surface of the tarmac was fantastic. No issues there at all. But really windy. And as you can see, as we come around this corner, you're faced with, it's not a hill, it's like just a rising gradient, but it's enough to shatter the legs, especially when you're punching into a headwind. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. But before I do, make sure you like and subscribe and throw a comment down below if you like this sort of stuff. I love hearing from you guys. So all right, let's get stuck in. First up, let's introduce Matt, the Sherwinator Sherwin, number 11 in his gold Sherwin Holmes jersey here. One of the strongest riders in this race today, been doing a lot of hours, a lot of training leading up into the Nationals, so he was a force to be reckoned with. We're also joined by the Footscray president, another really strong rider. In fact, the whole group of riders in this, although it was a small bunch, maybe I think we started off with 12 about. All of them very strong and capable riders. So look, we'll get stuck in. I'll skip into a few little bits and we'll have a look at some of the key riders in this race. We'll have a look at things that I did well, things I didn't do well. So let's get stuck in. All right, good stuff. So let's take this time to introduce the people who aren't in skinnies or skin suits for this race. First up, right in front of me, number 5, we have the Footscray Club Prez. Really strong rider, did a lot of work this race, so watch out for him. Now let's discuss all the guys that are in the skinnies. Now, and talking about skinnies, if you want to pick yourself up some great skin suits, check out Bonico Designs, link below for some of the best skinnies in Melbourne going around. So we've got number 4 and number 8. Number 4 is, I'm assuming, one of Martin Loney's mates. And Martin Loney's the guy there in the pink and blue, outrageous looking skin suit, which I don't mind, as he just sits up now and stop pedaling, which tactically, yep, pretty smart thing to do. But seeing as we're only like 6 minutes into the race, maybe a little bit too early to play that foxing, especially seeing we're just at Footscray in a club race, but it is what it is. So Martin Loney, I think, was with that number 4 rider. If you can see in my rear cam, it's a blue skin suit, pretty outrageous colours all around really, but still nice suits. But what I really wanted to talk about as well is the difference between A-grade and B-grade, and what I've been, the skills that I've learnt throughout racing B-grade, throughout, either Footscray or Glenvale, wherever it might be, is I had the legs in B-grade to sit at the front of the race and shut down any attacks where possible. However, as soon as you step up into that A-grade, you've got the likes of Matt Sherwin, Martin Loney, who's a dozen Masters national champions he's won. These guys are much faster than me. So the tactics that I used to use back then are not going to quite cut it in this sort of race. So it's all about really conserving your energy. And if you've recently just watched the Nationals, seeing a Luke Plapp insane victory, what a race that was. You want to take a leaf out of his book and really be conservative and be smart when you want to use your matches. So basically, he rode a majority of the race sitting at the back, had to shut down, or riding in the wheels rather, had to shut down a bit of a breakaway. But then again, it was disappeared at the back of the pack and was able to conserve energy where possible. So that's the sort of mindset you're going to need to have if you're going to be stepping up into A-grade and getting stuck in there. But look, let's get stuck into some racing and try to figure out where I could have done things a little bit differently to change the outcome of this race. All right, we've got a prime example here where there's been a little bit of an attack off the front. Sherwin's shutting that one down, and I'm spiking up to 700 watts just to stay in the wheels. In a bad position to put myself in there, being the one to close it. But then I sit in a time here where I'm actually going directly into the headwind. Yes, I'm not touching the pedals, but I'm sitting in the middle of the road. I'm not guarding anyone. I'm not jumping on anybody's wheels. I'm not protecting myself, but I'm putting myself in a vulnerable situation to be at the front of the bike race where I know I'm going to be having a, close down attacks. You've got to think about, yes, you need to be at the front, and I've been talking about this in plenty of my videos now, be at the front of the bike race in order to be able to shut down attacks. But for this example, when it's so early in the race, I know I'm not the strongest rider here. So why not I let other stronger riders shut things down? So here we got, right now, big effort to shut the gaps. Spiking up, I'm at 183 beats a minute. I'm working pretty bloody hard just at the very, very start. These are tickets that I'm burning, or matches that I'm burning to keep in the race, whilst the other riders behind me are catching a nice little draft as we come around this corner. And these are little things that I need to be more aware of, but it's obviously quite hard to do when there's no oxygen in your brain and you're just trying to survive. All right, we've got another example now where I've been caught at the front of the race and been forced to chase down attacks, while the likes of Martin Loney have been smart sitting at the back of the race, letting everyone to do the work for him. So spiked up to whatever it was, 800 watts to follow Sherwin's wheel around this corner. And my heart rate's almost maxing out at 190 beats a minute. And it's when it's this early in the race, only 10 minutes in, I'm not in a good place, mentally or physically. But as we step over this corner, really working quite hard to keep in the bunch. You can see behind in the rear cam, everyone's working quite hard. Sherwin launches another attack, and once again, I find myself at the front of the bike race needing to shut things down into a headwind. So you can see spiking up 700 watts. The club pres comes across and gives me a little bit of a sit, but still, that's two big efforts that I've had to do in the space of 30 seconds, that if I was further back, a little bit further back in the race and sitting in the wheels, being in a position where I can still pop out, and if things go a little bit pear-shaped, I can still pop out and put a big effort in. But when I'm at the front of the bike race, I'm almost forced to put these efforts in, and slowly but surely just cooking myself. Death by 1,000 cuts, I think is the phrase. So, yeah, lessons learned here. Here's another example where I found myself at the front of the race, needing to do all the work in order to catch a break that's up the road. So we've got the Sherwinator and his mate Loney are up the road in a little bit of a break. Caught myself at the front, got the flick from the club pres, double flick from the club pres in order to pull through, and I'm already cooked 191 beats in order to stay in the wind. So meanwhile, you got guys on my wheel that have barely touched the wind as we come round into the toughest part of the section, straight into the headwind. So I'm maxing out here, and with only a limited number left in the bunch, this is a very, very delicate time in the bike race, because I'm so close to being dropped. Second last wheel here, just hanging on to survive. And that's purely because I've spent almost the majority of the race working hard, either shutting down brakes or, shutting down brakes, jumping from wheels to wheels, sitting in the wind. All these things add up to a increased heart rate, and you end up just cooking yourself. So lessons learned in this one for sure. Here's another lesson, what we've spoken about in a previous video, all about shutting down doors. So as that number 6 rider swings off, I found myself sitting right in the middle of the road, and that basically opens myself up to attacks that come from the inside, the shortest part of the course. And sure enough, that happens, and once again, a gap opens up, and I'm basically forced to chase it down. Obviously, I'm pretty cooked, so, the shutting down that gap is happening very, very slowly, and I think I'm hoping everyone to come through, which it finally happens. Sherwin comes through, launches an attack, and I'm having to catch and try to jump into his draft, but obviously in a tailwind, that draft didn't exist. So another mistake there, and it's just a constant comedy of errors this race, but hopefully you guys can get something out of this, and because I definitely have. So after about 23 minutes of this race, I finally figured out that I didn't need to be at the front of the bike race all the time, and basically opened up a gap for the rider on the Specialized here to come through and sit in instead of me having to jump onto the wheel and force myself close to the race. So the problem with it is we're now in a tailwind, so you're not getting that much of a sit anyway. And this is where I tried to do it again with the Club Prez. The idea was good. The execution, however, was shocking. And the gap that I left open there was like, I don't know, 5-6 bike lengths, which meant that someone else had to shut it down. And when they did, they came through at speed, which meant that a gap again opened up between me and the wheel in front of me. For this case, I don't know if you can see number 2 because he's in a full-length camouflage suit. And at the worst possible time, because now we're coming into the headwind of the course. So once again, another little thing that, you just got to judge your speed. You got to have your head a little bit more on a swivel than I was on this race in order to gauge where people were so that you could open up gaps, not only the right size, but also doing it at the right time. However, for this one, it was a little too late. As my heart rate's at 193, I've got nothing left in the legs. I'm out of energy. I've got nothing left as we come into the final tailwind section. There's another surge. And when I'm maxed out like this is the explosion of a lifetime, and I just can't go with them. Another rider comes through, and I try to grab onto his wheel, which I'm fortunate to do, and the group's only a few bike lengths in front of me, and I'm doing everything that I can to hang on, but the efforts are futile. Another gap opens up. You can see in the shadow on the right-hand side, I'm in absolute pieces here. My posture's all wrong. I'm not aero at all. I'm soaking up all the wind, but I'm trying my hardest to put out the last flicker of watts. But as we come around this corner, it's all a little too late. And that is the end of the bike race for me. So I end up just riding around in circles for the next 6Ks, swallowing my pride. But look, another lesson learned. Again, the jump from B grade to A grade is one that is not only a jump in skill, in terms of your physical abilities and being able to pedal harder for longer, but also being smarter and more tactical about how you're going about these races. But that's enough of it. I hope you enjoyed this video once again of me getting dropped. Feel free to, or please, actually, don't feel free. Please hit the like button, smash the subscribe button, throw you a little comment in below, because I'm looking forward to hearing from all you lovely people. So stay tuned for next time, where we will have another video ready to go. Thanks very much, ladies and gentlemen. Cheers.